SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
This show is brought to you by Sledge & Company Financial LLC. I'm Taylor Sledge, founder and CEO. At Sledge & Company, we help businesses and families do better with their money. Check us out on the web at sledgecompany.com. That's sledgecompany.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good morning. Welcome. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you along for the ride as we get you out the door on this Tuesday morning. 2/3 of the way through the month of October. Today is October 21st. Glad to have you with us. The ceasefire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Again, 601-879-4395. Whether you're looking for the best in wireless with nationwide 5G from ceasefire, the best in internet for your home, they call it fiber to the home. Speeds over a gigabit, which is just blazing fast, or the best in business IT services. They've got you covered at ceasefire, inspired by you. Lance, good morning.
Good morning, RC.
What's up, brother?
Oh, you know it, the usual, man. Just scurrying to work. They shut down one of my roads in between the office and, 51 over here? And it takes a little longer. Then you get behind a PD, and then somebody, is driving super slow. Takes, you're running on time, and then you know how it is, and you're not.
And then you're not.
Then you're not, yeah.
As long as you get there before the music starts.
Yeah, we're good to go, man.
It is
Well,
okay.
I had plenty of time. It was just, it's that 10-minute window where you think you're going to be there at a certain time. Then you're like, oh, I've got to speed this up a little bit.
Yep. Just to pick up the pace.
That's
just a
right.
touch. Boonville, you've got some clouds this morning, and that is those clouds will give way to some sunny skies this afternoon. High of 74 with winds out of the west, northwest at 10 to 15 miles an hour. Over the Delta, Cleveland, downtown Cleveland, partly cloudy skies for you today with a high of 78. Winds out of the northwest. It'll be a little bit of a cool wind at 10 to 15 miles an hour. Quitman, you have partly cloudy skies early today. A few showers developing later in the day with a high of 81 over in southeast Mississippi. Winds 5 to 10 out of the west. Also a chance of rain, about 30% there. And then in the southwest corner of the state, Woodville, you've got a bigger chance of rain this afternoon, 40%, and could be thunderstorms. Partially cloudy early. Scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon with a high of 82 and a light breeze. So, all in all, a pretty decent weather day across the state of Mississippi. Lance, did I tell you where I'm headed this weekend?
No, but I was very curious about the logo on the hat. That's one I don't recognize, man. But,
this is it's a golf course in Atlanta.
Okay, yeah. So where are you headed this weekend?
South Dakota.
All right, that'll be awesome.
So I've got an FCS matchup this weekend, but not just any FCS matchup.
Yeah.
The Dakota marker game, number 1 versus number 2, North Dakota State at South Dakota State.
It's going to be a blast. Oh, that's a great game, too.
The Bison and the Jackrabbits.
Yeah, great mascots.
Yeah.
2 storied programs. And which one put out the quarterback a while back? There was a couple of them. You had Trey Lance, right, and then the guy before him that didn't do as well in the bigs. But both those programs are just for that level, man. I mean, goodness gracious. I don't even think they have a D1 team up there, right? It's just D2 ball.
No, that is the state school in both places. I mean, you've got University of South Dakota, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and then University of North Dakota. But the state school is the bigger kind of land grant flagship, all of those things. But it is the deal. That is the program that they support in both places. South Dakota State's got a really nice stadium. It's small. I mean, it seats about 20,000. But it's bowled on one end, so it's kind of a horseshoe shape. They've got really, really nice indoor facilities.
Yeah, you got to up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the stadium's great. I've watched a bunch of their games. I've always been I love the mascot, the Jackrabbits. And then the Bison.
Great helmets.
Great helmets. Bison are awesome too.
The green and gold for the Bison. Yeah. So I'm pretty fired up about that.
Now, where is the game held?
Brookings, South Dakota.
Brookings, okay.
Brookings, yeah. It's about half an hour, 45 minutes from Sioux Falls, which is where we'll fly in. And
looks like a beautiful kind of college town.
It's a neat spot.
Yeah.
Really is.
Really cool.
And downtown Sioux Falls is not bad either. So
eastern portion all the way over to the east of the state there.
First thing that I did was check the weather. And not bad. Like 60 for the high that day, and it's going to be down around 48, 50 by the time it's all said and done. So
you don't have to pack too differently.
No, just kind of a regular
perfect time of year to make it to South Dakota, huh?
Yes, man, it's windy there.
The plains, man.
I was there, and that's the thing, right? I mean, you get into that part of the country, and you're thinking, oh yeah, you're in the mountains, except not really. Mm-hmm. You are as upper Midwest can be, and it's kind of rolling hills, plains, as you described it. I guess is the right way to do it, but
maybe they call it prairie. Because you got the black prairie up there
sure.
and all that. I'm not quite sure what the exact terminology is. Always been fascinated with that part of the country, though. You've had a lot of gold up there, back in the day, and
I'll look for some while I'm there.
See what you can find, man. They may have one of those spelunking trips. You can go down there and get your own gems and gold and stuff.
I don't know. Carson Wentz is the other name.
That's who I knew. I knew it had a Z and a W. I just couldn't put it together.
Yeah. Alfred Nobel was born on this day in 1833, the Swedish chemist who invented dynamite and founded the Nobel Prizes, born in Stockholm, Sweden. Whitey Ford was born on this day, 1928. Hall of Fame pitcher, 10-time All-Star, 6-time World Series champion with the New York Yankees, including MVP of the 1961 Fall Classic. Cy Young Award winner in 1961. He was born in New York City, so beloved in that part of the country. Judith Sheindlin is 83 today. She was born in 1942. You know her as Judge Judy, born in Brooklyn, New York. At the end of her syndicated show, Judge Judy earned an estimated $47 million a year. She now is Judy Justice. As Judge Judy, those rights belong to someone else. Not sure exactly what she makes now. It is estimated to be around $25 million for the first 120 episodes. But $47 million is what she was making. At the height of her fame, she was named the world's highest paid television host by Forbes. And then she secured the rights for her entire back catalog of episodes, which is a big deal. And then she turned around and sold those back to CBS a few years later for about $100 million. Judge Judy negotiated her own contracts as well.
That's business dealing right there.
Mm-hmm. No agent taking 10% of that.
Trump might want to bring her into the negotiating team.
Perhaps. Bibi Netanyahu is 76 today. He was born in 1949, serving as the 9th prime minister for Israel. He's done it on 2 different occasions. Was in that role for 4 years, from 96 to 99, and then again from 2009 to to 21, and obviously he is in that role right now. Born in Tel Aviv. Carrie Fisher, born in 1956, the American actress. Perhaps you know her as Princess Leia, or from the movie When Harry Met Sally. Also a writer. Postcards from the Edge. Born in Burbank, California. And Kim Kardashian. Happy birthday, Kim. 45 years old today.
Got to go back to Carrie, man. The Jabba the Hutt scene when she's all chained up, and that's probably one of the most memorable moments in Star Wars history, because you had her in a space swimsuit, in Jabba's house, and he's over there.
Swimsuit.
Yeah, she's all chained up in like a one piece, and you got all these weirdos around. It's just a weird scene, But I love it. I love those movies. Though. They're good stuff.
We'll take a look at what happened on this day in history coming up in just a few minutes. We've got some news headlines for you. We'll check in on your sports headlines presented by Pearl River Resort. Tell you about the guests coming up this morning and all the things. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for being with us to start your Tuesday. We're back right after this.
It's time to get real.
Keeping it real
It's time for you to get real with it.
and keeping it Mississippi. Your voice for statewide and national politics. Yes! Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Now, baby, please don't go. Now, baby, please don't go.
What you got there?
Now, baby, please
Feel like you
don't
went into the
go.
Wayback Machine for that.
No, it's just Lightning Hopkins, my baby.
Okay.
I got a handful of those that are a little rough around the edges. Some Other Turner and those Mississippi
Okay.
Fred McDowell. They're a little rougher because they were cut long time ago, but wonderful songs.
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. One of my favorite things, I don't even know I guess I know how to describe it, is when you engage and you grab something that was just kind of a joke or something that we talked about in a previous show and you pull it into the next day.
Yeah.
Ceasefire text line, man, who would want to change that intro?
Yeah, thank you.
Loved that.
Exactly.
Loved that. If you were with us yesterday, you know. Jeff in Grenada says if you're in South Dakota, you need to stay and go pheasant hunting on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Jeff, you are not the first that has suggested that.
That's the best eating bird there.
Rich in Biloxi says take your skeeter spray. They tend to be a little more vicious the further north you go.
And I read that one going, really? They're worse than Issaquena County?
now.
I mean, the ones in Issaquena County will carry you off. I mean, they're like pterodactyls, man.
Yeah. I say we got small birds across the Mississippi Delta that you're trying to get a boat off the lake right at nightfall.
Good luck, man.
Hold on, brother.
Yeah, that stuff that'll ruin your ambition quick when you want to go night fishing, and then all of a sudden you've just got the swarm around you,
I love a good book recommendation, and I think we just got one. Whitey Ford's autobiography, Slick. One of the best books I've ever read. He, Mickey Mantle, and Billy Martin ran all around New York. Cannot recommend it enough.
Yeah, I'm going to go get that one. That's going to be
I
on
will
the
be
read list for the
downloading
holidays.
Slick.
Well, with a book by Whitey Ford named Slick, I'm not passing that up.
No. I got to get to reading, though. I've now got 3 in the queue. So the Andrew Ross Sorkin book, and then I had another one that was recommended by a close friend. Trying to remember. I'll come up with it and share it with you in a second. Get back to that. A few things happened this day. It's kind of a boring day in history, to be perfectly honest with you. Not for this guy, though. Back in 1520, Ferdinand Magellan and his fleet reached Cape Virginus after transiting the Strait of Magellan. By the way, you first there, you can name it. He did. The Strait of Magellan between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, becoming the first Europeans to sail into the Pacific Ocean. I think that was exhilarating.
Then you just kind of find your way home, right? You don't really know where you are. We made it. We got on the other side of this terrible strait, and then it's just the open blue as far as you can see. And then they go, all right, what's next? Keep going west.
Say, do we keep going or do we turn around?
Yeah, that was rough.
Let's just keep going.
Let's just keep doing this.
We don't have anything till next week. 1959, the Guggenheim Museum, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, opened in New York City.
Love that place, man. Been a few times over the years. I'm a big Frank Lloyd Wright fan, but that building is unique, you know? It
is?
And you know, I worked in the arts and museums, so walking down a spiral, seeing art that is, you know, is actually level, it's a unique perspective as you spiral down. And it's a really beautiful building, though, but it's a unique way of viewing a gallery, you know, especially things hanging on a wall.
Did that Frank Lloyd Wright house in Jackson ever sell?
I'm not sure, but what's it called, Fountain Blue, or it's just down the road from here. I'm not sure, but it was a pretty penny. What a beautiful place, though, man.
It was expensive, but for a Frank Lloyd Wright, it didn't strike me as like, oh, that's...
It's modest as far as size, but absolutely the angles and the yard and the way it was blended into as he did everything, the surroundings, just absolutely unique. Here, I can see, I have it pulled up right here.
It's good.
Fountainhead, I'm sorry, I wanted to make sure that I got the name right. Fountainhead, yeah.
There's a Frank Lloyd Wright design in Clarksdale as well. There may be a few others across the state.
Well, and he pioneered the ranch villa, so pretty much that's one of the things that he was known for as far as making homes affordable for people. But that was around $2.5 million for the Frank Lloyd Wright house in Jackson. That was back in July, so not sure if it's sold yet, but that was the price it was put on the market for, and it is beautiful.
Yeah. 1964, the Major League Baseball's Milwaukee Braves asked the National League, and this was at a time when the National League and the American League commissioners were a big deal, right? I mean, they operated largely independent of each other. But the Braves asked the National League to allow them to make a move south. They were tired of those Milwaukee winters and said, we need to go to a place warmer. And they made the move to Atlanta, Georgia. Finally, this day in 1966, the tragedy of Aberfan. 116 children and 28 adults died as a coal waste heap slides and engulfs a school in Aberfan, South Wales.
I read that this morning, and I just
pictures from that.
It was horrible, man,
awful.
Can't you think a toxic waste slide into a school? I mean, it kind of blew my mind there for a minute thinking about that, and then went and looked, and absolute terrible. 116 children and 28 adults passed away in that.
Yeah. Rich in Biloxi comes back, says he spent 11 years in North Dakota. He said there's a reason that people there wear bee masks when you see scientists working in the northern climates and the tundra. So many mosquitoes that you can hear them in the background.
Huh. Okay.
Wow.
Nice to know. I always thought about, like, if something bad happened, you just go north because it's cold, you got air conditioning, and the bugs are not there. But apparently, the great North Woods, they're full of bugs.
Dave from up north says he recommends finding a place in Brookings that serves bison burgers. South Dakota bison meat is very good. That's Dave from Minnesota. Thanks, Dave. And my guess is those jackrabbits are hoping to serve a bunch of bison burgers this weekend. You see what I did there?
Yes, sir. I eat a rabbit, too, now.
And Jeff in Grenada says the array of jobs that Lance has had is fascinating.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Lance has lived a life.
I try,
All right, let's hit some news headlines for you this morning. 3 members of Mississippi's congressional delegation are putting the pressure on FEMA to shore up funds for repairs related to damage from Hurricane Katrina more than 20 years after the natural disaster hit the Gulf Coast. According to the mayor of Biloxi, Mayor Fofo Gillich, FEMA owes the city $34 million in sewer system repairs that were planned nearly 2 decades ago. Though local and state officials have since sought to pursue more money, an increase in project funding of more than $111 million due to rising labor and supplies costs, FEMA has said no, not once, but twice. And their contention is that local officials had misused money that previously they had received from the federal agency. And so that caused Representative Mike Ezell, Senator Roger Wicker, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith to reach out to FEMA on behalf of the city of Biloxi in a letter penned to Keith Turey, who is the Acting Associate Administrator for Response and Recovery. They said that FEMA has acknowledged already that key cost factors, including contingencies and inflation and contractor overhead and permitting, were unintentionally omitted from the original estimate for Biloxi's infrastructure repair project. And without those adjustments, the city is believed to have faced significant funding shortfalls in completing the necessary work. A lot of money's already been spent. As of October, this month, Biloxi is reported to have completed more than $318 million of an overarching about $366 million in the initial repair project. And you got 2 other projects that are slated to be completed by this December. Biloxi officials, as part of their recent appeal, are urging FEMA to cover the full cost of the 2 remaining projects and to pay the full sum that they have requested. So they originally were supposed to get $34 million, or well, more than that, but they say they're still owed $34 million. But now they actually need that number because of inflation costs and just everything being more expensive. They need triple the amount. And FEMA said no. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll try to keep up with this one. Sports headlines coming up. We've got some more news for you as well. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. More MRC right after this.
From breaking news to bold opinions, Richard dives into the stories shaping Mississippi and the nation. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
You know, when you got a problem that you need to fix, well, how do you go about doing that? If it's a big problem, Lance, there's a very linear path on how you fix problems. The first thing you do is have a meeting. The second thing you do is you create a committee or a task force. City of Jackson is looking for compassionate and sustainable solutions to homelessness and hopes to find those answers soon through a new task force announced yesterday by Mayor John Horn. See, they had a meeting first.
That's right.
Then they put the task force together. The Unhoused Task Force is made up of a group of advocates, business leaders, and community experts. The 16 members are being asked to develop actionable strategies to address homelessness and panhandling across the capital city. See, the difference in a good meeting and a bad meeting, a meeting that was fruitful and a meeting that was a waste of time, is whether or not you have easily digestible action items coming out of the meeting. Those meetings where you just talk about what you're going to talk about the next time you come together to talk some more and put together another committee, those are a waste of time.
Yeah, the meetings so you can determine the next meeting.
Yes. Yeah, those are a waste. But actionable items for a task force coming out of a meeting, now we are moving towards solving problems. Task force is co-chaired by Melvin Stamps and Jill Buckley. Stamps is the planning director for Continuum of Care, a nonprofit dedicated to providing services to homeless individuals and those at risk of becoming homeless. Buckley is the executive director of Stewpot Community Services. Stewpot's done some really good work in Jackson through the years. Food, clothing, shelter to people dealing with homelessness. According to the co-chairs, the goal of the task force will not be more meetings, but will be producing a blueprint full of recommendations on how to enhance coordination among service providers, identify long-term housing solutions, and improving outreach and safety for both the housed and unhoused. Recommendations will then be turned over to Horn and the Jackson City Council for potential implementation, which is the biggest of the action items. Maybe I'm being a little flippant. Obviously, there is a very real homelessness issue in Jackson. And I do like the idea of some coordination between the entities that are trying to help. Because you've got a bunch of groups that raise money, donate time, donate resources to try to help the homeless population within the Jackson metro area. And sometimes pooling those resources together gives you the chance for a greater return.
Well, you have to solve issues as well, not giving resources, to people to stay homeless forever. That's,
right. Yeah.
The other side is Jackson is not a place where there's panhandlers everywhere. They're located in most, like you would find in most cities where they can make money, right? Mm-hmm. So you've had that get a license to panhandle thing. That was a law that the panhandling law as well. That you've seen less of the homeless walking around. I would say lately. I'm not sure what happened because you would see them up and down Ridgewood pretty regular. So I've seen it. There has been an improvement in the situation since Mayor Horn has been here. I don't know exactly what has been done, but I can tell there has been a difference. So it seems that they're moving in the right way. You just hope that the underlying issues that create homelessness. I've not met one yet, and I've talked to quite a few that are from Jackson. I haven't met any from here. So I know there are some, but a lot of them come in from other places because the conditions here were much easier to live homeless than, let's say, in another city. So I've met them from all over the South, and, most of them came here because the resources were better for homeless folks. And that's just not going to be a good thing for Jackson there to be, let's recruit homeless people here. So, there's that fine line, and, it is a humane issue.
I have often thought, if I found myself in that situation, why would anybody want to be homeless up north?
Yeah, a lot of them.
You got to go where it's warm. I mean, South Florida is where, in the event that I had to be homeless, if I found myself in that position, I think I'd start making my way south and have those warmer nights. It's time for your sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. You perhaps have heard me say this in the afternoons through the years. My absolute favorite time of the year. Gets a little difficult because there's a lot going on. Favorite time of the year to play golf is right now, the fall. Fall golf is the best. There's only one drawback to fall golf that I can come up with. You hit a good one down the right side of the fairway, but the leaves have been falling. You're like, my ball should be right here, but it's under a leaf. I don't know where it is. It's the only drawback to fall golf. And it is maddening. Well, then you got to figure out, okay, well, am I going to play by the rules? Do I technically have a lost ball, or are we all going to recognize that my ball was right here, let's just drop one and keep playing? Anyway, that's the only drawback. DancingRabbitGolf.com. That's where you go to make your tee time. DancingRabbitGolf.com, part of Pearl River, or Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, part of Pearl River Resort. The Major League Baseball playoffs rolled on last night, and then there were two. It took 7 games, but the Toronto Blue Jays topped the Seattle Mariners 4-3, ending a 30-plus year pennant drought for our neighbors to the north. Both teams scored in the first inning. Seattle took a 2-1 lead in the third. They increased the lead to 3-1 in the fifth. But in the bottom of the seventh inning, a George Springer home run, 381 feet to left field, a 3-run jack for Springer, put Toronto in front 4-3. It is a lead that the Blue Jays would hold. And now they are set to meet with the Dodgers, who are playing stupid good baseball right now. Dodgers beat the Milwaukee Brewers back on Friday, so they've had a couple of days to rest and get their pitching all set. And the World Series is now on the way. In fact, it will get underway on Friday night.
And thinking of that, as well as the Dodgers are playing, the Blue Jays have them by 1 game. 94 wins over the Dodgers 93. So very evenly matched as far as wins. But I think the Dodgers are on fire, fire right now.
This postseason version of the Dodgers has been something pretty darn special. Tickets, get in the door price.
Man, this is a good one.
In the door price at Rogers Center on Friday night for Game 1, $1,005.
And that is not Canadian dollars, I don't think.
USD. That's a lot for a baseball game.
The good thing about a baseball game is it's 9 innings. I mean, and you're going to be in a covered environment, so you kind of know you're going to be there for a while. But $1,000 to get in the door. Woo.
Wrapping up the NFL weekend, the Lions beat the Buccaneers last night 24-9. Jared Goff threw for 241 yards and a touchdown.
Best trade in the history of mankind, maybe.
And it's been really good.
Hasn't it?
And it's worked out for both, right?
Yeah,
it worked out for the Rams and for the Detroit Lions.
Both sides of that
Stafford
trade.
and Goff swapping. And Baker Mayfield last night on the field for the Bucs. He's been so good this year. It was okay last night, 228 yards, touchdown, and a pick in the game. In the second game of the doubleheader last night, well, Seahawks fans, a little salve after the heartbreak of the season coming in to an end for the Mariners. Seahawks moved to 5-2 with a 27-19 win over the Texans.
Quietly having a good season so far, too.
They are. Hey, how about this story out of Lubbock, Texas? After a crackdown by the Big 12, Texas Tech will flatten its tortilla-tossing tradition. Red Raiders athletic director Kirby Hocutt joined their head coach, Joey McGuire, during a Monday news conference to announce that the university is no longer going to encourage nor permit the throwing of tortillas at the opening kickoff of their football games. Tech fans have been doing that since the 1990s at Jones Stadium in Lubbock. In August, though, the Big 12 ADs voted 15-1 to assess a 15-yard penalty after 2 warnings for objects being thrown on the field. Kirby Hocutt was the lone dissenting vote. After he voted, he tweeted, "The rules can change, but our tradition will not," and he suggested a new tradition of launching tortillas for the opening kickoff. Well, the Big 12 got mad about that. They said 1 warning, then a 15-yard penalty, and a $100,000 fine. Hocutt had to go back to the fans and be like, "Sorry, guys, we gotta stop this."
From the benefit.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Mississippi lottery update. Tonight's a big one. Yes, sirree. Tonight is a big one. Mega Millions. Will we have a winner, or will it continue to grow? $650 million is the jackpot tonight for the Mega Millions drawing. The estimated cash value for that, $304.1 million. Nobody won on Friday night when the numbers were 9, 21, 27, 48, 56, and the Mega Ball was 10. So get your lucky numbers ready to go for tonight. There was no jackpot winner last night for Powerball. Man, those 3 drawings a week, that thing grows. And it seems to grow quickly. $320 million is now the Powerball jackpot with an estimated cash value of $152,200,000. Last night's numbers, 32, 38, 66, 67, 67, 69. Nice. Powerball, 19. The Power Play multiplier was 2. Thomas, did the cost of tickets ever go up? Yes, the Mega Millions tickets are $5, but you don't have to buy the multiplier. I think that's the deal. Let me tell you about a winner. Who do I want to tell you? Let's tell you about a Saltillo man. Won $3,500 on 2 tickets from PK Super C and North Auburn Grocery in Tupelo. I always thought that was impressive. They were playing Cash Pop. He was playing Cash Pop. You get tickets from multiple stores, not even like consecutive tickets on the roll. Multiple stores. And you become a winner. Larry in Mize. When is the SEC going to stop those bleeping cowbells, he says. That's the thing. It was the SEC athletics directors that voted on an exception for Mississippi State to be able to keep their tradition of the cowbells. The tradition of the tortillas in Lubbock, not so much. That one is headed the way of the dodo bird. Charlie in Senatobia, ceasefire text line, 601-879-4395. Lyrics to the song, go to where the weather suits my clothes. He also says, keep muddy waters.
Well, back to the tortillas, I mean, I guess that's why tortillas are so expensive now, maybe. I don't know, but they went up. The price has gone up substantially. How many tortillas? You know this story. So, like, did they sling like thousands upon thousands of these things?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And
it used to be throughout the game, right? It was just a celebratory thing, and they score a touchdown, throw the tortillas, throw a team runs onto the field, toss them.
There's no like brisket in it or anything. It's just frisbee.
I'm sure that somebody threw one that was fully loaded somewhere along the way. But no, it's frisbee style.
Okay,
it's like,
that's what I'm
coming
asking.
out of the student section, hey, how far can we get it out on the field? They're like, nope. It's a game management issue. You're going to have to stop.
I wonder how that
And they put this penalty structure in place, and Kirby Hocutt thought he was being smart. He's like, all right, they'll give a warning the first time, give a warning the second time, then we got a problem. He's like, hey, let's do it once. Let's just make this our thing. We'll do it at kickoff. And then they're like, 15-yard penalty, $100,000 fine. You missed the memo, Kirby. We don't want this.
I'm trying to figure out how this got started, like with somebody, selling tortillas at the game, and just wasn't having a great, wasn't selling a lot. And they're like, all right, let's sling them. Interesting. College football has a lot of that funny, crazy stuff, though.
Yeah.
Traditions.
CD from Bay Springs says, you're not an MSU fan if you don't like the Bells.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of other teams that aren't MSU fans. They're like, the Bells are terrible. But no, there was a funny video of two buddies, and it was a State guy and a Florida guy at the game this weekend, in their late 20s, and the State dude was just absolutely ringing the bell in his buddy's ear, who was a Florida fan, and he was a good sport about it. It was kind of, just jokey. But, the Bells, man, they get loud. That's a ruckus, bud.
Go figure.
That's a ruckus.
Go figure. All Let's see. Would you go flour tortilla or corn tortilla if you were looking for maximum distance?
I'm going
I
flour.
feel like corn.
I'd go with flour because it would float better, I think. But corn, corn's more brittle. I figure it would like break apart easier.
Yeah.
There obviously is some strategy to this. So
I feel like corn you could throw on more of a rope. Maybe that flour, when you get it spinning just right and kind of get it up and let it ride the breeze. I don't know. All right, 7 o'clock hour. Have you heard about the asphalt plant in Lafayette County? It's quite the local controversy. Have you heard about prices going up on insurance? What do you know about Medicare Advantage? Chris Cheek, CEO at SentryCare, is going to try and help us sort that out. Glenn Antizzo, always enjoy it when the professor comes by. We'll talk with him in the 8 o'clock hour this morning. Lot going on in the world, lot going on in Mississippi, and we are glad to be sharing it with you. Alongside Lance, I'm Richard. This is MRC on SuperTalk Mississippi. We'll take a quick time out, the news, and then we shall return.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers. And now, Mornings with Richard Cross. What's up?
Let's get the show going.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Pleasure to be with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Ceasefire text line is open, 601-879-4395. This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966. Richard, what do you know about college coaches being in the PERS retirement system? Checks are based on annual salaries. Lane Kiffin will break the bank if they increase his salary to keep him at Ole Miss. Let me assuage your fears just a bit. First of all, when you see a great big college football salary or administrator salary or whatever else, know that only, I think, the maximum amount allowable for a state employee to be paid is $400,000. I think $400,000 is the number. So that is the part of their salary that was eligible for PERS state retirement benefits. The rest of the salary is covered by a university's foundation, the Mississippi State Foundation, the Bulldog Club, the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation, the University Foundation at Ole Miss. And so on. Every school's got a private fundraising arm that makes up the difference in those salaries. The rules vary from state to state. Now, second part of your question, this is something that was recognized by the legislature when they were looking at the way some employees were categorized, especially higher earning employees within the university systems. And I don't remember where this ended, but there was some talk about only allowing those employees to be part of ORP, the optional retirement program, as opposed to PERS, the kind of standard state retirement system, so that the match would not be as big and it wouldn't have quite the same drain. You had a number of professors who had been in the system for a long time and some administrators, and it was putting a strain on the system. I think that they were able to reach an agreement that allowed that change to happen. But I got to go back and check on that. Somebody said state retirement caps at $250,000, not $400,000. Okay. So, a very reasonable and legitimate question, and it's not as bad as you thought, but they were trying to make some adjustments there to make sure that everything was on the up and up. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC. Lance, did I mess up the video stream? Are we still good?
I think you were froze for the moment. Yes, sir.
I think I hit a button I didn't mean to hit. A lot of screens going. There we go. All right, back with you. All good. So we don't always get into local stories outside of news headlines, but I think this one is fascinating enough. There are enough people that are interested in it that it's worth bringing to you. A bit of a controversy in Lafayette County. Not in Oxford, but in the community of Taylor, just in the southern part of Lafayette County. The controversy is surrounding a proposed asphalt plant near Taylor on Highway 328, or County Road 328, Highway 320. I think it's Highway 328. And the major concerns for some residents are about its potential to cause air and water pollution, negatively impacting the health of both residents and local agriculture. The issue here is that the MR Companies is trying to build an asphalt plant, and to do so, they are requesting a change in zoning from Agriculture 1 to Heavy Industry 1. I think it's HI1 is the abbreviation. There are people that say, hey, this is a thing that you have to go through as you grow, that it is an economic decision, that it's going to lead to increased tax revenue, it's going to help with more jobs, and it's also going to provide a service that is needed. That's what proponents of the construction of the asphalt plant in kind of on the edge of Taylor say.
It's Highway 7 and 328.
Yeah. Just less than a mile from Highway 7. If you're headed south on Highway 7, 328 is where the old Hilltop. Well, it's where Hilltop Grocery is. Just before there, you would turn right, and you can kind of take that into Taylor. Two ways that you can get to Taylor from Oxford. You can either go down Highway 7 and then take 328 over, or you can take Old Taylor Road, kind of from campus, baseball stadium, south down that way, and kind of wind your way on the two-lane.
Or you can meander through the top of those little ridges and those back roads, which you'll get lost.
Well,
I promise you.
You can do that.
You will get lost.
The opponents of the construction of the asphalt plant and the rezoning request say that, hey, it's going to change the look and the feel of a farming community. And there is a specific farm, Faulkner Farms, which is on the north side of Highway 328, directly across from the location for the proposed asphalt plant, and that there are significant environmental concerns, particulate matter in the air, the potential for runoff that could get into the Yocney River bottom, and ultimately find its way to Enid Lake. Those are some of the major things that have been discussed. There have been multiple hearings. The Planning Commission, the Lafayette County Planning Commission, initially approved the request, and then it had to go to the Lafayette County Board of Supervisors. Yesterday, there was a meeting of the Lafayette County Board of Supervisors in which several hundred or a couple of hundred people showed up, largely those opposed to the project, to speak out against it. And again, Faulkner Farms has kind of been leading the charge on this, but also the developers of Plain Air, which is a community in Taylor, kind of downtown Taylor, if you will. One of their concerns has been you're going to have a bunch of asphalt trucks and tractor trailers that are rolling through Taylor all the time. That part doesn't really make sense. I don't think that you're going to have asphalt trucks going through Taylor and up Old Taylor Road or down Old Taylor Road when you've got highway access just a few hundred feet from where the plant is going to be. Faulkner Farms is a local farm selling meat and eggs. Fears the plant will harm its business through noise pollution and contamination. Concerns have also been raised about how the rezoning will affect the area's identity and existing zoning plan. The developer, J.W. McCurdy, who is the owner of MR Companies, argues that the plan is necessary to support Oxford's growth, create jobs, and that it will adhere to environmental regulations, which require approval from the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, MDEQ. So, yesterday, the Lafayette County Board of Supervisors said, both sides have presented new information and we need a little more time to think about this. And so they kicked the can down the road a little farther. The next hearing will be on November 3rd. It is worth noting that there were multiple light industrial zone amendments, changes that were approved as part of the program yesterday, the minutes of the meeting. But this one was pushed down the road a bit. Brother, if you want some entertainment, read the Facebook posts on this. People are absolutely talking about it. And there's a big decision. I was told by someone with some knowledge of the situation that part of the reason for delaying the decision is to explore whether or not a conditional approval might be possible pending the outcome of environmental review.
From the Venable Glass.
Grab another cup of coffee and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just a couple of quick thoughts before we move on to our first guest this morning from the asphalt plant construction controversy in Lafayette County and the Taylor community that I mentioned a second ago. It is worth noting that the technological advances in asphalt production have been such that the environmental impact is said to have been greatly minimized, if not eliminated altogether. That is one argument that you have seen from the development side of things. The other thing is that, and this has been one of the things that has struck me since this conversation began several months ago. And I don't know the political leanings of all the people involved, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. But I do know that historically, conservatives have fallen on the side of property rights, owners having the right largely to do with their property. Obviously, zoning comes into effect and all of those things. But those property rights arguments sometimes get pushed to the side when it affects me. It kind of changes the way that argument exists. Like, I am for the idea of property owner rights in theory, and then when it's in my backyard, it's a little bit different. Just reminds me of an old proverb, Lance. I don't want to own all the land. I just want to own all the land that is next to mine.
Yeah, of course. That's a great proverb.
I don't know who said that or when it was said.
Somebody very smart.
Probably so. Chris Cheek joins us now. I think he's a guy that's very smart. He's CEO of SentryCare. He has been involved in a number of businesses as a founder or co-founder. almost all of them related to the healthcare industry. And if you have been paying attention, you know that there is a very real conversation about insurance, health insurance in particular, and the rising costs related with it. Significant increases that are coming with healthcare premiums. Some of that conversation is tied to what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now with the government shutdown and ACA subsidies. But also you have Medicare and Medicaid and Medicare Advantage, which is something that is kind of stuck in the middle of all of this that hopefully we can get a little clarity on this morning. Chris, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Richard. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time this morning. Let's start at the most basic level. People are familiar with Medicare, generally speaking. I think most people are fairly familiar with Medicaid, although sometimes those two things get conflated. But within Medicare, you have Part A, Part B, Part D, which is the prescription piece of this. And then there's kind of Part C, which, as I understand it, that's the Medicare Advantage piece. What is Medicare Advantage?
So Medicare Advantage is, you're correct, it's Part C. It is a Medicare replacement plan. So when you purchase a Medicare Advantage plan, you actually give up your traditional Medicare, and it is replaced by the for-profit company as a Medicare replacement plan. So you actually lose that traditional Medicare benefit. In addition to that, and I'm probably telling you more what it's not than what it is.
Okay.
In addition to that, it's also not a supplement. A lot of people come to us thinking that that they have this Medicare Advantage plan that adds on to their Medicare, but in the form of a supplement, and that they still have Medicare. But you actually do not have Medicare when you purchase a Medicare Advantage plan. You have a Part C Medicare replacement plan, as you have noted.
So Medicare Advantage is an alternative that some who are eligible for Medicare have chosen to use or have as their insurance instead of traditional Medicare?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So as I understand it, there's been a significant growth in Medicare Advantage plans. It's something that has been marketed very aggressively by big insurance companies, private insurance companies over an extended period of time. And at least for a while, this seemed to make sense for a lot of people and is something that a lot of people have. I think I read that maybe for 15 years in a row, they've seen year-over-year growth in the number of these plans that have been purchased. But something has changed. What is that something?
Well, to tell you the truth, I think a lot of it is transparency. The Wall Street Journal did a great job in exposing what these plans really are. They are a form of profiteering on behalf of insurance companies that are basically rationing your health care back to you. And you're giving up all kind of rights when you buy one of these plans. They sound good. You get some trinkets with them. People kind of fall for those trinkets and say, wow, this is nice. I get this gym membership and all this kind of thing. But when you get really sick and really need full health care, it's a different story. There's all kinds of problems getting the coverage you need. There's prior authorizations. And if you talk to any healthcare provider, they will advise you against Medicare Advantage for those reasons. It's hard to deal with, and we're faced with it all the time. And in our nursing homes and in our hospital, we have people coming to us that would really like to have coverage to be able to be admitted, but they can't because they have this product. So it's a challenge.
I feel like when you get into an industry that has what seems to be an infinite amount of acronyms, it feels like they're trying to hide something. You got PPOs and HMOs, and one of the things that I read about that seems to be unappealing to Medicare Advantage plans is the ability to choose your provider, your preferred provider, or PPO. Is that accurate that these Advantage plans have made it harder for people to go to the doctors that they've always gone to, or go to the nursing homes or hospitals or specialty care facilities that they want to use?
Yes, that is correct. In fact, not all doctors take Medicare Advantage. To put a fine line on it, the Mayo Clinic doesn't take any Medicare Advantage. MD Anderson takes limited Medicare Advantage, and Vanderbilt takes limited Medicare Advantage. And the list goes on. So there's 20% of the healthcare facilities in the U.S. don't take Medicare Advantage, and that's hospitals, systems, and that's growing. So that is a huge problem. And the ones that do sort of do so reluctantly, if you will.
Yeah.
So it is a big problem. Absolutely.
All right. So what is the advantage to Medicare Advantage, if you'll pardon the usage there? Because again, these are popular. They have been heavily marketed by insurance companies and in a lot of cases pushed. I understand from the perspective of insurance companies, it's an opportunity for them to sell their product and make their money. What's the advantage for patients outside of what you mentioned a second ago? You get a gym membership, or you get a reduced rate on some medicine along the way.
Yeah, well, it's cheaper from what I've been told. Now, I'm not an agent. I'm a healthcare executive. So
right.
I've been in the business since 1990 of taking care of people, and but it is some cheaper. But why people fall for that cheaper product is kind of beyond me. In the hospital business, I tell people, look, we're here to save your life and make your life better, but we're not here to save you a little bit of money. That's just not our job. But we need to be here for the community and for the community to thrive and be successful. So it's very frustrating from our standpoint when people get, hung up on the trinkets, the lower price, and there's even some scenarios where if you have a certain condition that they will even pay you to join Medicare Advantage, which is sort of beyond me. I don't know that I understand how that's perfectly legal, but anyway, our tax dollars is going to pay people so that they can buy the plan. It's a little bit convoluted to me. I don't quite understand that part yet, but anyway, maybe I will one day.
All right, so what about costs of Medicare? You mentioned that Medicare Advantage in some scenarios seems to be less expensive than traditional Medicare, and there is and by the way, we'll carry this conversation. We got a break coming up in about a minute. I do think there's a misconception with Medicare. For some people, they're like, "Hey, I worked my entire life, and I've been, paying into Social Security, and I've got money that's going to Medicare. And when I retire, hey, my insurance is going to be free." And that is simply not the case, whether it's with Medicare or Medicare Advantage. That's accurate, right?
That's accurate. Yes, that's right. That's right.
And Medicaid is the program that is more for low-income individuals and those who can't afford Medicare. All right, we'll pick this conversation up on the other side. I want to tell you about a website that Chris and his companies have developed, keepyourmedicare.com. It answers some of the questions about Medicare Advantage, shows some of the detriments that exist. We'll talk about what people need to be doing as we have made it into open enrollment. What's the answer for you going forward? Chris Cheek, CEO at SentryCare, is my guest. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Take a deep dive into the news and debates driving the day, all on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I'm laughing just to keep from crying. Yeah, now you don't know, a lot of you don't know, well, you don't know my...
Glad to be with you on this Tuesday morning, the 21st of October. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Chris Cheek is my guest. He is the CEO at SentryCare, has worked in the healthcare industry since, as he said earlier, around 1990. And we're talking about Rising insurance premiums, rising costs in the healthcare industry, and Medicare Advantage plans, and the things that you need to be aware of when you are looking at insurance. A couple of things that we didn't mention. We were kind of talking about different terms, Medicare A, Medicare B, Medicare D. Medigap, which is this gap insurance that is available for people to purchase when they retire. Chris, some people simply either don't have a need for it initially after retirement, or they think they don't want to or can't afford to spend the additional money on Medigap coverage. I've heard and have been told that it becomes more difficult to get and more expensive to get if you don't get that as soon as you were first eligible for it. What is the role of Medigap?
So Medigap is really important. So what we tell people instead of a Medicare Advantage plan is we tell them focus on the 3 M's. The first M is Medicare, which is Medicare.gov, and that's your Part A and your Part B. The second one is your Medigap policy. The second M is Medigap. It's also called a supplement. You have a 6-month window, more or less. Once you pay for Part B, you have a 6-month window where you can get a Medigap policy or supplement. And you're guaranteed to get that policy. You pick the one you want, and if you do it inside that window, you're guaranteed issue without any underwriting concerns for healthcare. So you're covered. You got it. And the third M we tell people is their medications. That's their Part D plan. I know you didn't ask about that, but I'm just trying to present this acronym to help people out. So it's Medicare, Medigap supplement, and then your medications with your Part D plan. It's important to note relative to this Medigap policy, though, that if you go the Medicare Advantage route and you decide, I want to go back to traditional Medicare, and you have become ill and not getting the services that you want, you will likely give up your opportunity to get a supplement or a Medigap policy because you have become uninsurable and it will likely be too expensive for you. So one thing you got to realize is that once you get Medicare Advantage, you may lose that opportunity to get that Medigap policy that you just referenced if you're outside that guarantee issue window. So it's something to really understand and know about and make sure that you're making the right decision.
Is the cost of Medigap guaranteed, or can that change year to year as you go through open enrollment each year? Once you have initially obtained that Medigap policy?
Once you've obtained that policy, that cost is going to, I don't think it's stagnant, but it's not like, if you get it later, it's going to be more expensive. But if you get it on time, if you will, in that 6-month window, it's going to be much more affordable. I guess what I was exact cost, but
yeah, I mean, I guess what I was getting at is, let's say I'm 68 years old and I retire and I go into Medicare. I don't know exactly what the age number is where you transition to Medicare. And I get that Medigap initially, and let's say it cost me, I don't know, $75 a month for Medigap coverage. 3 years from now, when I'm 71, is that $75 Medigap going to now cost me $125 or $200? But you're saying don't know exactly how that works?
I don't know exactly what that number is. Okay. But what I am saying is that if you wait to get that and you think you're going to go back and get it at a later time outside that guarantee issue window, that's when it gets terribly expensive. Okay.
What about people that are changing? So I mentioned open enrollment. That is going on right now. I think started last week. And if you are in Medicare, do you have the ability to leave Medicare to go get a Medicare Advantage plan? If you're in a Medicare Advantage plan, can you leave that program and go to Medicare or back to Medicare in some cases?
Yeah. You could leave Medicare and go to Medicare Advantage. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, given what's on our website and what you can see in the news every day. But coming back the other way is difficult. You probably will have trouble getting a supplement. So you'd have to be careful with that.
And the supplement is the biggest thing. Right? You talked about the importance of that supplement because that's the part of the policy that covers big expenses. Is that the best way to describe that?
No, actually, it's actually the Medicare Part A covers the big expenses. Okay. The supplement wraps around your Part A, covers the copays and deductibles. And listen, I know people who have had horrible cancer episodes and had traditional Medicare with a supplement, zero bills. Won't happen with Medicare Advantage. Won't happen.
Okay.
All kind of copays and things that pop up. So,
what are the questions?
Very important to understand that.
Yeah, what are the questions that people need to be asking? Whether it's a benefits manager or if they're getting ready to retire and maybe work for the state or for a university or a hospital system, and there's somebody usually that can kind of help you with all of the options that you're going to have to, all the choices that you're going to have to make as you transition into retirement. What are the questions that people need to ask?
I think the one thing that we have in our healthcare system that's problematic is this whole thing is full of conflicts of interest. So you've got to wade through who are you talking to that's conflicted in what they're telling you. So you have to keep that in the back of your mind. But we have to rely on agents to help us with to get a supplement and a deep. If you want to go down the road of a Medicare Advantage plan and take a look at that, they sell those as well. So they handle a lot of those issues, a lot of those questions. But the first thing I want to know, first thing I'm going to do, and my wife will start this process next month, and the first thing she's going to do is look at a supplement policy and a Part D plan, and you go to an agent to get those done. But that's the first thing to work out, in my opinion, is getting those two things taken care of. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's just like it feels like people need to be educated.
Yes.
You don't know what you don't know sometimes, and you don't even know exactly the right questions that you need to be asking. Again, the website is keepyourmedicare.com. There's a lot of helpful information that kind of gives you the tools to make the decision that's best for you. This conversation that we've got going on in Washington right now about ACA subsidies, government shutdown, cost of insurance going up, does that have anything to do with what we're talking about now with Medicare, Medicare Advantage, or is that for younger people that aren't eligible at all for these programs?
Yeah, more the latter. It's for people that are on the marketplace.
Okay.
And look, it's important that we all have insurance, and so they need to work through that and try to. I'm just a big fan of everybody having insurance and doing your responsible thing. And I think we all have we should all work hard, and we should all provide our insurance and pay our property taxes and pay our taxes so we can all live peaceful lives, right? And so I hope they get through that, and let's work through that.
Let me ask you this question based on some of the questions that we've got. We've gotten a lot of messages on the ceasefire text line that say, hey, Medicare Advantage is a sham. You don't want to go down this road. But there are also some people that have said, okay, why is Chris advocating for this? How does this benefit him? So I'll just simply ask you that question.
Good question.
Why is it that you are advocating for people, hey, stick with Medicare, don't go down this road of Medicare Advantage?
It's real simple. I'm a healthcare provider, and that's all I've done in my career is providing healthcare to people. And I've seen people in our nursing homes and in our hospital crying because they thought they had Medicare. And all they had was a Medicare Advantage plan and an old Medicare card. And I've just seen enough people crying and begging for us to take them because their Medicare Advantage company said, no, we're not providing. And I just checked on somebody a little while ago that they were an elderly man. He needed a skilled stay after hospitalization, and that his Medicare Advantage company turned him down. And my good friend who's a doctor tried to admit a lady to our hospital the other day with pneumonia. This guy's a 40-year internist. Tried to admit her to the hospital, and the Medicare Advantage plan said, we think she needs to go home with oral antibiotics. You know what? She went home with oral antibiotics and died 2 days later. So I've just heard all of it I can take. And I don't make a nickel off of this website. I don't make a nickel doing what I'm doing now. I'm not a broker. I'm not doing this commission. I'm strictly doing this to try to tell the world, be careful. This is a huge problem. It is the biggest financial threat to our healthcare system is Medicare Advantage. The biggest financial threat to our healthcare system. And I'm not the only one saying that. Just look at the Wall Street Journal. They're printed it all over there.
There is, if you are a subscriber to the Wall Street Journal, a really good story that came out, I think it was just last week, that really identifies some of the issues with Medicare Advantage and spells it out pretty clearly. Chris, thanks so much for your time this morning, for shedding some light on this issue, and maybe we can talk again down the line.
I'd look forward to it. Thanks, and it's a privilege meeting you. I appreciate it very much. You have a wonderful day.
You as well. Chris Cheek, he's the CEO at SentryCare. He's been in the medical field for a long time, and hopefully that shines some light on this issue that is affecting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Americans, seniors who are sometimes vulnerable health-wise.
From Duck Hill to Alligator, Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Well, I done got old. I can't do the things I used to do.
Pleasure to be with you this morning. SuperTalk Mississippi. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. Glad to have you along for the ride. Going to go to the ceasefire text line, 601-879-4395. Again, 601-879-4395. I want to, before I read these messages, I ask directly Chris the question that some of you are asking. What's his angle? Why is he advocating for Medicare Advantage? What's in it for him? I asked him directly, and he was more than happy to answer that question. He has been in the healthcare world for a long time. He explained why he was advocating for Medicare, traditional Medicare, as opposed to Medicare Advantage programs. And I think he was pretty straight up about it. Now, as is the case with most stories, you got options here. There are two sides to this story. One, this one says, I'm just going to read the message. And again, here's what I would encourage you to do. Make the decision that is best for you. Just make sure that you understand all the realities of your insurance decision in retirement. Here's one message. This guy that is bashing Medicare Advantage plans has no idea what he's talking about. You need to have somebody as a host that can explain how an Advantage plan works. I'm an agent, and I've helped a lot of people with Medicare Advantage plans, and they are completely happy with them. This doctor, by the way, he's not a doctor, has plenty of money to pay co-insurance, co-pays, and everything else that goes along with having original Medicare. This is not fair to the senior citizens that are listening to this on the radio. Medicare Advantage plans are not for everyone, and neither is having original Medicare for everyone. Okay, but I would say here, as you explained in your message, you do have a vested interest in this. Chris told us that he doesn't have a vested interest. He's not an agent. He's not a broker. He's somebody that works in the healthcare industry, development and management of hospitals, nursing homes, and assisted living communities in multiple states, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying you identified in your message that you are an agent that sells Medicare Advantage plans, and everything that he's saying is wrong and he has no idea what he's talking about. You may have tons of idea about what you were talking about, but to say that somebody else doesn't know what they're talking about when they've been in the industry for 35 years, that strikes me as a bit disingenuous as well. Some of you asked what the website was that we were talking about. It's called keepyourmedicare.com. Here's another one. Terrible segment on Medicare. Biased and slanted information. Please try to get someone on the show that is an advocate for the consumer.
It's always about your budget, your time horizon, the flexibility of your income.
Yes.
I mean, nothing is ever going to be one glove fits all hands. I mean, I spent a few years doing this stuff and wrote a lot of health. The ACA really put a stop to a lot of that for most of my customers because we were, writing individual health care for families and, using golden rule and, very inexpensive but high quality coverage. So a lot changed, and what I will say is that it's different for everyone. You have to sit down and go through the options. This is not anything anybody ever likes to do. It's like writing a will. You know, you're getting to that point in life where you got to.
100%.
It's not fun, okay?
I mean,
but
even
no one
Lance, within our company, when October 1st hits and we get the email on September 15th that says open enrollment starts October 1st, you've got to go in. Even if you're not making any changes, and
still got to go
through all the elections and all of the enrollment.
And MWG makes it so easy for us. I mean, it could be so much more difficult. I did it when it was way more difficult. So MWG has really made it easy. But I mean, Medicare Advantage plans they're basically a plan that replaces the original Medicare Part A and B.
Yes,
it often includes a Part D prescription drug coverage and some other stuff, make dental and this. But I mean, it's really case sensitive. I mean, you know, it really is.
Let's grab a couple more of these messages. Advantage companies require that medical providers get treatments authorized while Medicare just writes a check. The argument goes both ways because some medical providers simply choose not to accept Advantage plans to not have to get prior authorization, ensure they get paid. Medical necessity isn't required for Medicare and supplements. I will tell you this. We have gotten several messages from healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, people in hospital settings, who have said during this segment, we have all kinds of problems with Medicare Advantage plans.
And a lot of that is how they're sold up front. And in most cases, that is generally the bigger issue is communicating what you're selling to those that are buying it. Yeah. And they're unclear, and they buy it, and then they don't understand what they've purchased because it's complicated.
Ask any hospital employee or clinician that deals with insurance, and they all say stay with straight Medicare. They know what pays and what doesn't. Somebody says the responsible thing is to be healthy even into old age. Yeah, that's what we all want. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way. I think we hit on another passionate topic where people are on one side or the other. Be sure to do your own research. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Morning, Mississippi. You're starting your day off right. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Taco Tuesday, I got the cheese, she tasting the Kool-Aid.
Do you find yourself in the market, not for a Medicare Advantage plan, but for a new or previously owned vehicle? Well, let me tell you about my friends at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota. They're going to take care of you. They're going to listen to you, and they're going to help you get into the vehicle that makes the most sense for you, the one that you want, the one that you can afford, the one that you need. Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota are located on Highway 6 West in Oxford. Got a great selection on the lot of both new and previously owned vehicles, and they're not going anywhere. The Belk family has been in the automobile industry for over 100 years. That is staying power. So whether you're looking for a new F-150, Expedition, Explorer, maybe the Mustang or a Bronco, or you're looking for the Toyota Tundra, or maybe the all-new Land Cruiser, or the 4Runner, or the Camry that has been a bestseller since Moby Dick was a minnow. Well, they can take care of you at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota. Great people, service after the sale, an incredible service department. Tell them you heard about them from me, Richard Cross, on Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. I promise you they will take care of you. BelkFord.net, OxfordToyota.com, Highway 6 West in Oxford. Feels like we have kicked over a bit of an anthill this morning with the conversation about Medicare and Medicare Advantage. We'll see if we can continue to kick over anthills with our next guest, Professor Glenn Antizzo. He's good at kicking over an anthill from time to time. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Richard.
Always a pleasure to be with you. I was saddened this morning to see that Maria Shriver, of all people, posted on X that she was heartbroken and disgusted with the demolition that was happening at the East Wing of the White House. Couldn't believe that hundreds of millions of dollars were being spent to modernize and renovate the home of the president, you know, the place where we host foreign dignitaries and all of those things, with private funds no less. But she was heartbroken by the progress.
Well, I guess the place really hasn't changed much since her family was in there, 60 years ago? Occasionally you need to, upgrade stuff.
You do. So much going on, Glenn. And I guess let's start with the news from a week ago. The ceasefire agreement in place between Israel and Hamas.
Right.
It felt very tenuous on Sunday with kind of the first semi-violation of the ceasefire, accusations that Hamas had killed a couple of IDF agents, Israel responding with 150 tons of explosives dropped in parts of Gaza. And then you have Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner jumping on a plane and racing back to that part of the world to try and calm tensions down. And it appears, at least for now, the ceasefire is holding. How tenuous is this, given 2,000 or 3,000 years of history as the backdrop for people not liking the Jews and the Jews fighting to protect their own?
Right. No, I think that your word tenuous is perfect for this, because it's exactly what it is. I think everybody knew from the beginning that this was going to be rough. I don't have any hard evidence for what I'm about to say next, but it's sort of a gut feeling, and that is that I think that there are probably people who are towards the fringe of the Hamas movement who do not like the idea that there's a peace. I think you probably, as you often find in these types of situations, pragmatists who realize that it's over and that the area has to move on. And then you've got more radicals that think that they'll fight on to the bitter end, and that they do stuff like what was done this weekend that prompted the Israeli response, that somehow can scuttle the agreement, that they can cause havoc to happen enough that this falls through. At least we got the hostages back. At least the living hostages have been returned, and the Palestinians got what they wanted on that. I'm disappointed, obviously, that most of the other bodies have not been returned, but at least we got off to a good start. And I feel like if that is the only thing that happened and then they go back to fighting, at least maybe something good came out of this agreement. But, I think it's going to be tough. This is an area that you just pointed out earlier. The fighting's been going on here for thousands of years. It seems like it never stops. And unfortunately, you've laid out some great conditions. And I think that the president was right when he said that, the use of military force got us to this point. And unfortunately, we may end up having to resort back to it. But I wish one thing he would make clear. He keeps saying that we will do it. Does he mean us, or does he mean the Israelis? I think he means the Israelis, but I'm not so sure I would use that wording.
Yeah. You say we, and people have images of the bombing of Iran.
Yeah.
And that was actually we that flew across the world and executed those strikes, as opposed to the Israelis that were doing it. Dr. Glenn Antizzo is my guest. He's a professor of political science at Mississippi College. I've tried to talk about this. I think you're probably more suited to do so. I look at the progression of activities of this Trump administration since Inauguration Day to where we are. Mm-hmm. And at times, it looks scattershot. And it looks like it's random. But I actually think there might be a little bit of a linear progression that has happened that has allowed us to get to this place. And I'm talking specifically about the economic meetings that we had back in the summer, the relationships that this administration has tried to build with some of the Arab countries, and then the ability to lean on some of the Arab countries in the Middle East to help get this peace deal across the finish line, because the United States or Israel negotiating directly with the Palestinians, directly with Hamas, was not going to go anywhere.
Right.
But once you got some of those Arab nations on board saying, hey, it's time. It's time for this to stop, and we're supportive of this action, it felt like the game changed. Forgive me for the long-winded preamble there. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense. You may remember at the end of the first administration that you had the Abraham Accords that were worked out.
Right.
And that got peace with Israel, with the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, two very important Gulf states, Sudan and Morocco. And now there was a little horse trading going on. Like, for example, with Morocco, to get that, it is my understanding that we officially recognized Morocco's claim over what used to be called Spanish Sahara. And
okay.
Yeah, it was
important to them, I'm sure.
It was important to them, and in the 1970s they actually occupied the place. But that's another story for another show. So there was a little horse trading going on there. And now that he's come back, as you point out correctly, he had that big meeting earlier this year, and he was able to work out some deals with a number of states in the region, and it appeared to set the stage for an expansion of the Abraham Accords. When Israel came under attack, I think, the earlier deals sort of created more of a relationship between the Israelis and some of the Gulf Arab states than anybody wanted to say out loud, because you may remember when the missile attacks happened against Israel, and I think that was last year, but I think that Trump laid the groundwork for what I'm about to say. You had Arab states engaging those missiles before they even got to Israel. A lot of them were shot down over Jordan. Some of them were shot down in the Persian Gulf region as they were on their way. That's something you never would have seen before, ever. And before the intensification of the fighting earlier this year, it looked like Saudi Arabia was about to sign on to the Abraham Accords. I think that what the president has done, both in terms of the trade, the sort of transactional trade relations that he's built up in the Middle East, plus also the prudent use of military force occasionally, like the bombing of Iran that we just talked about, I think has changed the game in the region. You are absolutely right. We are standing at the possibility of a completely remade Middle East in terms of the power dynamic there, that things I think are shifting in our direction. And it never would have happened in the previous administration. As a matter of fact, I would argue that under the Biden administration, we invited trouble more than we solved it.
Certainly with the Iranians, we did. I was just thinking as you were talking about that, and we've mentioned that strike in Iran a couple of times. You remember the immediate aftermath. The question was, okay, what did this do to their nuclear program? Did it set it back? Did it obliterate it? Nobody's talking about that anymore. Have we heard any definitive information as to what the result of the bombing on the Iranian nuclear facilities was now that we're a few months removed?
Yeah, no, I think the best guess is that we probably set it back about 6 months to a year. There is, like you said, unless you're absolutely on the ground, I don't think there's any way to know for sure, because so much of it is buried so deep. And which was prudent on their part when they were putting it together.
Sure.
Just in case something like this did happen. And I think it was sort of foretold. If you saw that second, what was it, Tom Cruise movie?
Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun.
Yeah, that was absolutely the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I even asked an Iranian student, who do you think the enemy was in that? And he said, it was Iran.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. Can you drop these bombs in a hole the size of a sewer cap? Sure, we can do that, times 2. Glenn Antizzo, my guest, professor at Mississippi College. More with him coming up on the other side of this timeout.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Continuing to get your messages on the conversation about Medicare and Medicare Advantage plans. Strong opinions about this, and we will continue that conversation maybe later today and certainly in the days to come, unless Dr. Glenn Antizzo wants to jump in on Medicare Advantage. You want to sit that one out?
I think I'll sit that one out, although I understand, problems with that. I've got, a mom in New York right now who's been in and out of hospitals, and she's had trouble with her Medicare Advantage plan. So,
yeah. Sounds like if you're healthy in your older age, then maybe that's a really good thing for you. But if you have any serious health conditions, then it can become problematic. But we'll continue that conversation in just a bit. Let's shift from the Middle East to the Russia-Ukraine part of the world.
Absolutely.
Volodymyr Zelensky wanted Tomahawks. We kind of teased the idea of providing some Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, but ultimately did not go all the way down that road. It is clear that that Donald Trump is frustrated with Vladimir Putin, but it seems to be frustration that ebbs and flows, that rises and falls. I think he knows that to end this war altogether, Ukraine is going to have to make some concessions. They don't seem to want to do that. It's so complicated and convoluted.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Well, let me say this. You were talking about that meeting that was held with Zelensky on Friday, and basically Trump echoed the talking points that Putin had laid out in an earlier phone call, which was hand over all of Donbass and also basically demobilize your military, and it made a lot of maximalist demands that would essentially make Ukraine a vassal state to Russia. And, obviously, it's been pointed out that the Russians control about 78% of the contested region, but that means about a little over a fifth of it is still in Ukrainian control. And I don't understand why the Ukrainians should be expected to hand over territory that the Russians have not themselves been able to conquer. It would seem to me that Trump should go back to what he said originally, and that is ceasefire first, negotiations later. We ended the Korean War with an armistice, not a peace treaty, and we have kept the peace on the peninsula for over 70 years. We ended fighting in Cyprus in 1974 with a armistice, a ceasefire, but no permanent solution. As a matter of fact, no one in the world outside of Turkey recognizes the Republic of Northern Cyprus. I'm sure that I could go through a few other instances where, first comes the ceasefire, then comes the negotiations. But the Russians don't want that. The Russians want to continue the war going on. And it's gotten beyond just Ukraine. Now the Russians are starting to probe NATO airspace. There have been drones showing up over Poland, drones showing up over the Baltic states. There have been at least 2 incidents of Russian drones over the Copenhagen airport, and at least one in Oslo, Norway, and one at Heathrow. They are beginning to probe to see how strong NATO is. Now, basically, if Ukraine somehow falls into Russian hands, they are right at the doorway to NATO. And I think that they will be emboldened. The president just said, that military force against Iran was what helped get the peace in Gaza. So my question, Richard, is why does the same principle not apply here? Why not bleed the Russians a little bit? If you give them offensive missiles and allow them to use them, you get to hit things far beyond the lines, things that support the Russian war effort, things like airfields, ammunition dumps, oil refining facilities, infrastructure like bridges. There's a long bridge that connects the eastern part of Crimea to the Russian mainland. Those Tomahawks have a range of over 1,500 miles. They could, if they chose to use them, be able to hit Moscow and St. Petersburg. I'm not saying that they should, and I don't think the Ukrainians would, because there's just too many targets supporting the Russian war effort that if they got taken out could be game changers here. But we have limited them.
Do we have enough Tomahawks to give them?
That's a great question. That is a good question.
But because our security has to come first.
Correct. Right? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. No, but I would think, and I don't know this for a fact, but I got to imagine that some of our allies probably have these. And if we could allow them to give those to the Ukrainians, I think that could be a game changer. I don't know if our audience knows this. I know that you do, but these are long-range missiles that were created during the Cold War to be able to deliver nuclear weapons deep inside enemy territory. They fly at like treetop level and are able to go underneath enemy radar and strike with tremendous precision. These things have an electronic map on board and a GPS system that tells the missile exactly where on that map it is. This is a unbelievably reliable weapon that would absolutely be a game changer in this war. But you do raise a good point. And again, American security should come first. And, we certainly cannot, give these out sort of like Mardi Gras throws. But I would definitely consider, trying to get
Ukraine.
them some missiles.
Never mind. Not going to go down that road. Although I guess I just did. The only thing that Russia seems to have responded to, and traditionally the only thing that Russia has responded to, is force.
Yes.
You can talk all you want, and they may sit there and nod their head and yes, and have Putin praise Trump and say that he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize and all of these things. But then they just kind of go on and do whatever it is that they want to do, or at least they seem to, until they are pushed to a point where they can't.
Right.
Whether it's financially or militarily.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are we about to push? And forgive me for broadening the question because I know this complicates it.
Right.
But what about China?
That's a great question, and I think that the Chinese are watching the Western reaction to this. And if they think that the West is too afraid of war, then they will not. If they cannot take care of business in their own backyard, they are certainly not going to take care of business on the other side of the world.
But is that about Russia, or is that more about their desire to take Taiwan?
You're talking about the Chinese, or
yes.
You're talking about the? I think it's.
When you say they're watching to see how the West reacts and what their appetite for war is, Taiwan's the right country, right?
Right,
China
China
has had its eye on Taiwan, and there's been a lot of talk about will they go take Taiwan? Is that the thought in their back of the mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, there've been plenty of intelligence reports that suggest that the Chinese are getting ready to be able to be in a position, not to say that they will actually do it, but that they should be in a position to be able to invade and successfully take Taiwan in 2027. And I think what they are doing right now is they are looking to see if the West has enough resolve, if the West can take care of business, is able to, stand up to the Russians and basically, stop them in their tracks, then I think the Chinese think twice. But I think the thinking is that if you cannot even take, if you are so scared of war and what could come of it, that you are not willing to take care of things close to home that you should be able to manage, then you're certainly not going to be able to come to Taiwan's defense. Unlike Korea, unlike Japan, unlike the Philippines, there is no foreign treaty, at least from the United States, with Taiwan guaranteeing, if they get attacked, that we're coming to their rescue. And obviously, the Europeans, have even less probably at stake than we do in that region. Yeah. So, I think the Chinese are watching, and I think that they are, getting some signals here that, maybe we could make a move, especially, if they can wait a little bit longer. Trump's not in office. You never know what the next administration is going to be. If it's a Democrat administration in particular, will they be willing to go to war over that?
Well, Derek in Greenwood on the ceasefire text line says if they launch Tomahawks deep into Russia, they just started World War III. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. And the reason is because you would be using conventional missiles, conventional warheads on these missiles. The Russians got to know that if they go to war with NATO, it's not that they're just taking on a nuclear United States. They're also taking on a nuclear Britain and a nuclear France. They do not win this war, and nobody wants a radioactive prize.
Who's after Putin in Russia? Who's his successor?
I wish I knew. If I did, I could probably put in my application for my tenured position at Cornell or Harvard. I wish I knew.
That's an interesting dynamic. There have been all of the rumors about Putin's health, but he seems to be clipping along at 73 years old, at least for right now.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I mean, he looks like he's in remarkably good shape in terms of like his physical stature.
Yeah, when he takes his shirt off and gets on the back of a zebra, you're like, that guy's tough. Hey, Dr. Glenn Antizzo, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Richard.
Soon.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Get the inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Have you got the nerve to pop a tart from your door? Woke up this morning, baby, I had them Statesboro blues. Statesboro, Georgia, that is. Woke up this morning, had them Statesboro blues. Looked over the corner.
Welcome again. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances, our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert, thanks for joining us. Ceasefire text line is open. 601-879-4395. Thomas. Why not admit Ukraine isn't our concern? Is the guest growing a John Bolton-ish mustache?
I mean, with Ukraine, I can understand that argument 2 years ago that maybe they aren't our problem, but they are because we've continued to fund it and we've continued to send arms and we've continued to somewhat side with the Ukrainian cause. So, I mean, I don't understand when people say they're not our problem. I mean, maybe mine and your problem they're not, but apparently America, its leadership, and its partners have said, yes, this is a serious issue, and we're going to side with one side of this, and that is Ukraine, whether you agree with it or not. America is taking that stance.
You know, the really interesting thing about Donald Trump that is a departure from Republican politics of, I don't know, the last 30, 40, 50 years is that his goal seems to be peace.
Peace through strength, though, and negotiation.
That's right. Well, and that's where I was headed. Mm-hmm. The use of the military, whether abroad or domestically, has been that mantra of peace through strength, and the attacks that we've seen have been surgical and strategic.
Mm-hmm. Well, I take it down to the street level.
The sinking of the drug boats in the Caribbean is not really about sinking drug boats in the Caribbean. It's about looking in the mirror and raising both of your arms and flexing to Venezuela, to Colombia now, and to other cartel, drug production friendly countries that say, we're not playing games. There's not a United States president in the last 50 years that would have used missiles to blow drug boats up in the water and then immediately release the footage to say, see?
Well, same with the street level in, say, Memphis and Chicago and others. I mean, which president would have gone in with the National Guard and tried to clean up crime, even in places that didn't want it? We saw, and I sent you a video of a Memphis resident yesterday, an African-American, saying, man, I was against this. I didn't want the National Guard here. I'm a black man's black man. I didn't think this was the way we should do it. But after seeing the results, they've taken 12 to 16 murderers off the street in less than a week. He goes, now I'm for it when you see the results.
And have arrested hundreds, and in the process have found illegal immigrants who are convicted of crimes, sexual assault, rape, murder, etc. And they're getting those people out. And look, I mean, you got bad actors all over the place that thrive in lawlessness.
Well, those drug boats need a place to sell those drugs, too, yeah.
Overwhelmingly, people want safety. I know we've talked about all the shootings and the violence, whether it be black on black or black on white or white on whatever the skin color is, though there has been a predominance of that has happened in black communities. But the overwhelming majority of people that live in black communities would much prefer not to have bars on their windows, not to wonder if there's going to be a drive-by shooting in their neighborhood, not to fear for their kids' lives when they leave the house to go play in the afternoon. And some of those videos that you've seen, they're like heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time when you see kids like, yeah, we can go play on the playground. It's awesome. It's what all kids ought to be able to do. And imagine having a generation of kids that grow up not feeling like they have to carry a gun at 12 years old or join a gang at 14. All right, that's an interesting concept. But yes, like the peace through strength thing, we're going to send the National Guard into Chicago, into Memphis, looks like into Portland, into New York, into Washington, D.C. And what have you seen immediately? Immediately, in every single instance that has been the case, you've seen crime statistics go down. Why? Flexing of muscles. Somebody stronger than the local police force that in some cases is rendered impotent by local politicians.
Well, I mean, bad folks are bullies. And you need somebody.
And the best way to take care of a bully is you just punch him right in the nose.
And that's what you see being done.
And there's some bullies that are willing to fight, but most aren't.
They're going to come up on the short end of the stick, and and that's what Trump keeps saying. And that's what the whole point of this is, to clean up the mess, get back to folks living in some type of peace and harmony, as you said, without worrying about getting shot or drive-bys or drug deals going on or prostitution or homeless folks encamped in your yard, so on and so forth.
So you've seen it in the Caribbean with drug boats, and you've seen it on the streets in the United States, and you saw it with a precision B-2 bomber attack halfway around the world. That was the ultimate flex for the United States military, and a reminder to the rest of the world, hey, you may think our military is not what it was. Might want to think again. Because not only did they do the mission, they did the mission undetected until an hour after it happened.
And don't ever forget either that much negotiation and diplomacy has been exhausted before these things happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they just said, let's just blow up something. Yeah.
No, that's right.
There's a lot of diplomacy that went in and a lot of work that went into where you run into a loggerhead and you go, all right, our only option is this now. They exhausted every other option.
Thomas says, what precedent are we setting for the next president? Well, Thomas, I don't think there's any question that Donald Trump is one of, if not the most unique leaders that the United States and the world have ever seen. And the idea that whoever is next, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Ron DeSantis, or somebody that we're not thinking about right now, assuming the Republicans win the presidency again, expecting them to be Donald Trump 2.0 would be a fool's errand. Because you're not going to replicate this guy. But somebody has to clean up the messes, and that's what Donald Trump is trying to do, and largely has been successful. And then you get this morning. President Trump reveals that numerous Middle Eastern countries are on standby to eliminate Hamas in a manner that is fast, furious, and brutal if the terrorist group continues acting up. This was the post on Truth Social. Here it is. Numerous of our all caps now great allies in the Middle East and areas surrounding the Middle East have explicitly and strongly, with great enthusiasm, informed me that they would welcome the opportunity at my request to go into Gaza with a heavy force and straighten out Hamas if Hamas continues to act badly in violation of their agreement with us. The love and spirit for the Middle East has not been seen like this in 1,000 years. It is a beautiful thing to behold. I told these countries and Israel, not yet. There is still hope that Hamas will do what is right. If they do not, an end to Hamas will be fast, furious, and brutal. I would like to thank all of those countries that called to help. Also, I would like to thank the great and powerful country of Indonesia and its wonderful leader for all of the help they have shown and given to the Middle East and to the USA. To everyone, thank you for your attention to this matter. So, to the point of the conversation with Glenn Antizzo a second ago, when we say we, are we talking about the United States or are we talking about Israel? Maybe none of the above. Maybe it's some of these new allies who are really, really excited about the potential economic partnerships with the United States.
Egypt especially.
Take a time out, final segment of the show with you. Right after this, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Appreciate you being part of, including us as part of the start of your day.
From the Venable Mississippi in the know, one morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You know, for a while now, I've been telling you about my friends at David Fisher Land Company, their website, davidfisherland.com. And more times than not, we've talked about buying property, right? Are you in the market to buy a piece of land, whether it's farmland or recreational property? And we've talked about equity hunting shares. You know, you want to buy into a hunting club in the Delta. They can help you with that. And all of those things are true. But what about when you have a piece of property that you're willing or ready to sell? I can assure you that David Fisher Land Company can help with that. Their website is davidfisherland.com. They would welcome the opportunity to visit with you, to talk to you about the property that you have to sell, to do all the research and put together a presentation to talk about how they will market your property for sale. David, Jack, and Travis are all standing by. But don't take my word for it. Don't do that. Don't just listen to me. Because if you're selling something, you want to say, well, have they sold anything else? Well, yeah. There was the 300 acres in Adams County or Yazoo County, and the 900, almost 1,000 acres in LaFleur County, and the 2,200 acres in Bolivar County, and the 500 acres in Sunflower, and the 40 acres in Belzona, and the 670 acres in Sunflower, and the 4,000 acres in Tunica, and the 300 acres in Bolivar. The list goes on and on. It's farmland. It's recreational land. It is investment property. Maybe you're uneasy with the current world events. You don't think that now is the right time to continue doubling down in the stock market. You want to get in something safe. You considered land? Not making any more of it. David Fisher Land Company would love the opportunity to earn your business, whether it's to buy or sell land in Mississippi, Arkansas, or Louisiana. Online, davidfisherland.com, davidfisherland.com. Did you see who made an appearance at the No Kings Jackson protest over the weekend?
I did not, no.
Democrat Senate candidate in Mississippi, Scott Colomb, was there.
Okay.
Colomb's campaign finance report, coupled with his presence at a No Kings protest over the weekend, kind of throws a little cold water on his efforts to downplay his coziness with the far left wing of his party. The donations that we're talking about include $7,000 each from George Soros and his son, Stacey Abrams jumping in and dropping $1,000 into Scott Colom's campaign. And give credit where it's due. Magnolia Tribune with the story here previously reported that Alexander Soros, that is the son of George Soros, recently hosted a New York fundraiser for Scott Colom. The event was intended to be a private gathering, but the strain between the Soros political empire and the Trump administration's investigation into his funding of protests led to anonymous sources tipping originally the New York Times off to the fundraiser. When we talked to Scott a couple of weeks ago, I don't remember him bringing up that Alexander Soros had hosted a fundraiser for him in New York City.
No.
Because I asked him specifically about Soros money, and he said they didn't give directly to my campaign. Going back to when he was a district attorney, they gave to a political action committee, and then he quickly turned it to Cindy Hyde-Smith and billionaires donating and whatever. But he conveniently left out. And look, I have said over and over, and I will continue to say, I like Scott Colom as a person. Clearly, I disagree with him politically. But if I ask you about a specific campaign donation and you deflect, political action committee and my opponent and whatever, and Alexander Soros has just held a New York City fundraiser for you, and if I'm off on the time, he was about to do it, but I think it had already happened, then you've kind of lost some credibility with me at that point. Soros and other Democrat power players have donated to Colom's campaign. We talked, I guess it was last week, either last week or week before last, about the campaign finance report coming out for Colom, showing that he had raised more money in the opening quarter of a Senate bid than anybody in history on the Democrat side of things. It was almost $600,000. We have now discovered that half of that, $295,000 of it, came from Act Blue. That is the Democrat fundraising apparatus. Nearly 250 donations made to Colom through Act Blue, meaning the Democrat donor hub accounted for just under 40% of his total reported transactions. Former Mississippi Public Service Commissioner and Democrat candidate for governor in the last cycle, Brandon Presley's Save Our State PAC, has donated $5,000 to Scott Colom, as did American Association for Justice, the National Association of Trial Lawyers. His likely opponent in the general election, Cindy Hyde-Smith, in her most recent campaign report, showed $2.3 million cash on hand. Do with that as you will. Thanks for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross. We're back at it tomorrow. For Lance, I'm Richard. Have a great day.
Your home. A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.